Welcome to this deep dive. And this one's especially for you because I know you're interested in people born on the first of the month.
Why?
Have you ever noticed that they have a certain magnetism, a drive that sets them apart?
Yeah, definitely. It is an intriguing pattern for sure.
To unpack this whole born on the first thing,
Right.
we're going to be diving into an episode from the Always Interesting podcast.
Okay.
And they tackled this through numerology and astrology.
Two very different systems.
Yeah,
But we'll see. There's some interesting overlap there.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So let's start with numerology.
Okay.
For those who aren't familiar, numerology is basically assigning meaning to numbers and their vibrations.
Right.
And guess what? The number one is considered pretty darn powerful.
It's seen as the pioneer number,
Uh,
representing new beginnings, bold action, strong sense of self.
Mhm.
It makes sense that people born on the first might embody some of that energy.
exactly. And the podcast highlighted some pretty spot-on positive traits. They said that those born on the first tend to be independent thinkers, natural leaders, and incredibly creative.
Yeah.
Does that track with the folks, who were born on the first?
Absolutely. I mean, just as a quick example, Oprah Winfrey.
Right.
She was born January 29th.
Wow.
Now, in numerology, you add the digits of your birthday. So 2 plus 9 is 11.
Right.
And then 1 plus 1 equals 2. So he's actually a life path 2.
Yeah.
But that initial 11, which is considered a master number, is very significant.
Interesting.
So she really embodies that number one energy in her leadership and kind of forging her own path.
Wow, I never knew that about Oprah's numerology chart.
Yeah.
But it makes total sense given her independent spirit and how she's always encouraged others to live their best lives.
Yeah.
It's like they say about those born on the first, they're not just walking their own path, they're carving it out for others to follow.
Precisely. And it's not just about leading in a traditional sense. It's about having that inner compass that guides them to make bold choices and inspire others to do the same.
The podcast also talked about creativity being a hallmark of those born on the first. And I think it goes beyond just artistic talent.
Hey, for sure.
It's about seeing the world differently.
Absolutely. It's about thinking outside the box, challenging norms, coming up with unique solutions.
Take Elon Musk, for example.
Okay.
Born June 28th. So his life path number is also a 1.
Interesting.
Known for his unconventional thinking and pushing boundaries in multiple industries. Love him or hate him, you can't deny that he embodies that number one drive to innovate and disrupt.
Absolutely. He's a perfect example of how that number one energy can manifest as a restless need to create and to change the world.
And of course, let's not forget about ambition.
Yes.
The podcast really emphasized that it's not just about setting goals, it's about the sheer willpower and effort they put in to achieve them.
Yeah.
It's like they have an internal fire that just keeps burning.
I think a lot of that drive stems from their deep sense of purpose. Those born on the first often have a very clear vision of what they want to accomplish in life, and they're willing to work tirelessly to make it happen.
It's like they're not afraid of hard work.
Right.
In fact, they might even thrive on it.
Exactly.
But let's be real, even with all these amazing qualities, there's always another side to the coin, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Every strength has its shadow side. And it's important to acknowledge the potential challenges that can come with those number one traits.
For instance, that independent spirit can sometimes tip over into stubbornness, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're so used to relying on themselves that it can be tough for them to take advice or even ask for help.
That's a great point, and it highlights the importance of self-awareness for those born on the first.
Uh-huh.
Recognizing when their strong will might be hindering them is really crucial for growth and collaboration.
And how do we distinguish healthy confidence from being closed off to new ideas? That's a question for all of us, maybe, especially for folks born on the first.
Right.
It's like their inner compass is usually so spot on. Yeah.
That it can be hard to admit when they might need a different direction.
It's a delicate balance for sure, but the key is to remember that being open to feedback doesn't diminish their strength.
Right.
It actually adds to it.
Yeah.
It allows them to learn, adapt, and become even more effective leaders and innovators.
Totally. It's like adding more tools to their already impressive toolbox.
Exactly. It's about expanding their perspective and recognizing that even pioneers can benefit from collaboration and diverse viewpoints.
Okay. And then there's the impatience thing.
Oh, yeah.
We all know those folks who are constantly pushing for results, wanting things to happen, and now
Right.
I'm guessing that's amplified for those born on the first with all that drive.
It can be that number one energy is all about forward momentum. So waiting around for things to unfold naturally can be very frustrating for them.
It's like they have a Ferrari engine, but they're stuck in traffic.
Exactly.
Talk about frustrating.
But that impatience, when channeled effectively,
Yeah.
can also be a source of incredible energy and efficiency. Okay.
It can push them to find innovative solutions and make things happen faster than anyone thought possible.
So it's all about learning to manage that inner fire, right?
Right.
Not letting it burn them out,
Uh-huh.
but using it to fuel their passions and goals.
Precisely. And finding healthy ways to express that energy without steamrolling over others in the process.
Right, because as we've been saying, even the most positive traits can have a flip side.
For sure.
And speaking of flip sides, there's one challenge that really stood out to me from the podcast.
Okay.
It's the tendency to be overly self-reliant.
Yes, the I could do it all myself mentality.
Yes.
It's a common pitfall for independent folks,
Mhm.
especially those born in the first.
It's like they have this internal belief that asking for help is somehow a sign of weakness.
Right.
But as we all know, it takes a lot of strength to admit when we need support.
Absolutely. And for those born on the first, who are often used to blazing trails and leading the way,
Yeah.
learning to lean on others can be a game changer.
It's like recognizing that even superheroes need a team.
Yeah.
And sometimes asking for help can lead to even greater successes than going it alone.
It opens up opportunities for collaboration, learning, and growth
Mm.
that wouldn't be possible otherwise.
I'm thinking about that in my own life, too. I mean, who hasn't struggled with wanting to prove they can handle everything themselves?
It's a common human experience.
Yeah.
But learning to delegate, to ask for help, and to build a supportive network is essential for achieving our full potential.
So true. And I think that's especially important for our listeners who were born on the first.
Yeah.
Embrace your independence, your drive, your vision, but don't be afraid to lean on others when you need to.
It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wisdom and strength.
So we've explored numerology and how the number 1 shapes the personalities of those born on the first.
Right.
But we've only scratched the surface. Are you ready to switch gears and see what astrology has to say about it?
Absolutely.
Mm,
I'm curious to see how these two systems intersect.
me too.
Yeah. Astrology offers a really fascinating perspective here. And like in numerology, the day you're born has special significance.
Okay, so remind me, how does that work? It's not just about your sun sign, right?
Right. Your sun sign is determined by like the position of the sun in the zodiac at the time of your birth.
Okay.
But the day you're born also influences your astrological makeup, particularly through the position of the sun in relation to other planets
Right.
and the angles that it forms within your birth chart.
Gotcha. So even if 2 people share the same sun sign, being born on different days of the month could give them like totally distinct personalities.
Precisely. And for those born on the first, we see a strong connection to, you guessed it, the sun.
It's like numerology and astrology are both pointing to the sun's influence here, but what does that actually mean in terms of personality?
So the sun in astrology represents our core identity, our vital force, our willpower.
Okay.
It's associated with leadership, self-expression, creativity.
Yeah.
All themes we've already kind of touched upon with the numerology of the number 1.
So it's reinforcing that idea of those born on the first having this like innate drive to shine, to lead, to create.
Mm-hmm.
But it also makes me think about the potential downsides we discussed earlier.
Uh-huh.
If the sun is all about self-expression, could that also contribute to like the stubbornness or impatience we talked about?
It's certainly possible. The sun's energy is powerful.
Yeah.
And like any powerful force, it needs to be channeled wisely.
Right.
Too much emphasis on the self can lead to egotism and a lack of consideration for others.
So it's about finding that balance again, right?
Exactly.
Expressing your individuality and your drive, but also like recognizing the importance of collaboration and empathy.
Exactly. It's about integrating the positive aspects of the sun's energy, the leadership, the creativity, the willpower,
Yeah.
while also being aware of the potential pitfalls of over-identifying with the ego.
Makes sense. It's like you can have all the sunshine in the world, but if you don't have some shade, you're going to get burned.
A perfect analogy.
Ma-
And just like the sun's energy varies throughout the year, its expression in those born on the first can be influenced by their zodiac sign.
Right, because it's not just about the day you're born, it's also about where the sun was in the zodiac at that time.
Exactly. The podcast gave a few examples, like an Aries, born on the first, having a double dose of fiery energy and boldness.
Talk about a force to be reckoned with.
Right.
I imagine those folks are just bursting with ideas and enthusiasm.
They certainly don't shy away from taking initiative. And then there's the Leo, born on the first.
Okay.
They might have a natural charisma and a desire to be in the spotlight.
It's like they were born to perform, to lead, to inspire. I'm thinking about it. Those craving the spotlight tendencies aren't always a bad thing, right?
Right.
I mean, the world needs people who are willing to step up and share their gift.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's all about how that energy is channeled.
Right.
A Leo born on the 1st could use their platform to advocate for important causes,
Yeah.
to entertain and uplift others, or to lead with warmth and generosity.
It's like they have the potential to be the sun in other people's lives, bringing light and warmth wherever they go.
A beautiful way to put it. And then there's the Capricorn born on the 1st.
Okay.
They might combine that ambitious drive with a strong sense of discipline and practicality.
I imagine those folks are the ones who set like big goals and then meticulously map out every step to achieve them. Nothing can stop them.
They're definitely known for their work ethic and determination.
Yeah.
And that combination of Capricorn's groundedness with the sun's fiery energy can lead to incredible accomplishments.
So we've got these 3 examples: fiery Aries, charismatic Leo, and determined Capricorn, all born on the 1st.
Yeah.
It's like each zodiac sign adds its own unique flavor to that number 1 energy.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that even within those born on the 1st, there's incredible diversity.
And I bet our listener is out there right now thinking about all the firstborns they know and trying to see if these patterns fit.
It's always fun to try to apply these concepts to people we know. But it's important to remember that these are just general tendencies, not hard and fast rules.
Yeah.
Every individual is unique and complex.
Right. It's not like we can predict someone's entire personality based on their birthday.
Right.
But I think these systems, numerology and astrology, give us some interesting frameworks for understanding human behavior.
They offer valuable insights into our potential strengths and challenges.
Right.
It's like having a map that shows us the terrain, but ultimately we choose our own path.
Speaking of paths, I want to circle back to numerology for a minute.
Okay.
We talked about the number 1 being ruled by the sun. But what does that actually mean in a practical sense? Like, how does that sun symbolism play out in the lives of those born on the 1st?
It goes beyond just the leadership and vitality we discussed earlier.
Okay.
The sun in numerology also symbolizes powerful beginnings,
Yeah.
self-reliance, and creative thinking.
Okay, break that down for me. What does it mean to be all about powerful beginnings?
It's not just about starting things, it's about being the first.
Okay.
Think about the pioneers, the
Yeah.
inventors, the entrepreneurs who dare to venture into uncharted territory. They embody that number 1 energy of initiating something completely new,
Wow.
of setting a precedent for others to follow.
So it's not just a new beginning. It's like they're creating a whole new paradigm.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. And how does self-reliance fit into this?
Yeah.
We talked about it as a potential challenge,
Right.
but how is it also a strength?
Goes back to that independent spirit. They have a deep inner drive to succeed,
Okay.
and they rely on their own capabilities to get things done.
Yeah.
They're resourceful,
Yeah.
resilient, and they don't shy away from taking risks.
Okay. I'm seeing how that can be both a blessing and a curse, depending on how it's managed.
Yeah.
And lastly, you mentioned creative thinkers. We've already
Uh-huh.
touched on creativity.
Yeah.
But I think you're hinting at something more here.
Uh-huh.
What makes their creative thinking stand out?
It's about their unconventional approach to everything. Problem-solving life choices. Even their relationships, they see things differently and aren't afraid to break the mold.
That's such a cool way to think about it.
Yeah.
Like their creativity is woven into every aspect of who they are. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
But the podcast also provides some broader lists of strengths and challenges for those born on the 1st. Instead of just reading them off,
Sure.
let's pick one strength and one challenge that really stand out to us.
That's a good idea. It's helpful to focus on the most impactful points.
Okay, for strengths, I'm really drawn to a clear sense of purpose. It seems so fundamental to who they are.
I agree that sense of purpose can manifest in so many ways throughout life. It can guide their career choices, their relationships,
Yeah.
even their hobbies and passions.
Okay.
It's like a compass that keeps them moving in a meaningful direction.
And for challenges, I think being overly critical of themselves is something that many people can relate to.
Oh, yeah.
Even if they weren't born on the 1st.
Absolutely. It's a common struggle.
Yeah.
Especially for those who set high standards for themselves.
Yeah.
It's something we can all learn to navigate.
So true. And it makes me wonder how that self-criticism ties back to their ambition and drive for success. Is it a motivator or does it sometimes hold them back?
That's a great question, and it probably varies from person to person.
Right.
For some, it might be a driving force that pushes them to constantly improve. But for others, it could lead to self-doubt and a fear of failure. It's a delicate balance.
It is. And I think it connects back to that idea of self-awareness that we discussed earlier.
Right.
Being able to recognize those critical thoughts and to challenge them
Yeah.
is so important for personal growth.
I completely agree. It's about learning to be kind to ourselves, to recognize our accomplishments, and to strive for progress, not perfection.
That's such great advice. And it makes me think about something the podcast mentioned in its closing segment.
What's that?
They said that asking for help doesn't take away from your strength, it only adds to it.
I love that. And I think it's especially relevant for those born on the first, given their strong, independent nature.
Right? We've talked about how they can be overly self-reliant.
Exactly.
So this message is even more powerful for them.
It's a reminder that we don't have to go through life alone.
Right.
We all need support, guidance, and collaboration to reach our full potential.
It's about recognizing that true strength comes from knowing when to lean on others.
Exactly. And it's about building meaningful connections that enrich our lives.
So we've looked at people born on the first through two fascinating lenses, numerology and astrology. What stands out to you now that we've explored all this?
What's fascinating to me is how these systems, while different, offer complementary insights into personality and potential. It's like they're painting a multifaceted portrait of those born on the first.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It's like each system is adding a different brushstroke, creating a richer and more nuanced understanding.
And for me, the most compelling takeaway is the importance of balance. We've seen how the strengths of those born on the first can also be their challenges.
It's like walking a tightrope between independence and collaboration.
Right.
Between confidence and humility.
Exactly. It's the lifelong journey of self-discovery and growth, and I think that's true for everyone.
Right.
Regardless of when they were born.
So true. We've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
And I hope this deep dive has given you some fresh perspectives on those born on the first.
Maybe even spark some self-reflection along the way.
Absolutely.
But before we wrap up, I have one final thought to leave you with.
Ooh, I love a good cliffhanger.
Think back to what we discussed about asking for help.
Right, how it adds to your strength rather than diminishing it.
Exactly. Now consider this. How might that concept apply specifically to people born on the first, given their unique strengths and challenges?
That's such a great question. It's like you're giving our listeners homework.
Consider it food for thought.
I love it. We've given you a lot to chew on today, but the exploration doesn't have to stop here.
Not at all. We encourage you to observe the firstborn individuals in your life with these new insights in mind. Do the patterns hold up?
Yeah.
What else can you learn?
Maybe you'll even start noticing those born on other days of the month and see what unique patterns emerge.
The possibilities for exploration are endless.
And that's the beauty of it. So until next time, stay curious and keep learning.
And keep diving deep.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.
We look forward to it.
You know, it's funny how something as simple as like the day someone was born can spark such a fascinating conversation.
It really is. It speaks to our enduring fascination with like personality and destiny and the search for meaning, you know?
Totally. And digging into all this with you has got me thinking.
Yeah.
Maybe those born on the first are like those friends we all have who walk into a room and instantly command attention.
Right.
Not always in a loud or boisterous way, but there's just something about them that draws you in.
I see what you mean, like a certain presence.
Yes.
Magnetism that seems to come naturally.
Exactly. And it makes me wonder if that born on the first energy might actually like contribute to their success in life.
It's certainly possible that innate drive, ambition, confidence could give them an edge in many areas.
Right. Like imagine them going into a job interview. They've got that like #1 confidence radiating off of them.
Yeah.
They're articulate and passionate about their vision. I bet they just knock it out of the park.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. And that same energy could translate to their personal relationships as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That ability to take initiative, to be decisive, to lead with enthusiasm, those are all qualities that can be very attractive.
So maybe those born on the first are just destined to be successful.
Well, I wouldn't say destined. Remember, we've talked about how these systems offer insights into potential, not guarantees.
Right. It's not like every single person born on the first is going to become a CEO or a rock star.
Exactly. There are plenty of firstborns who might struggle with those same #1 traits.
Right.
Maybe their independence turns into isolation, their drive leads to burnout, or their self-reliance prevents them from seeking support.
It's a good reminder that it's all about balance.
Exactly.
It's not about suppressing those #1 qualities,
Right.
but rather learning to manage them effectively.
Precisely. And that's where self-awareness comes in.
Yes.
Understanding your strengths and weaknesses,
Mm.
recognizing your patterns, and making conscious choices about how you show up in the world.
So for our listener out there who was born on the first, what would be your advice to them based on everything we've discussed?
I would say embrace your individuality, your drive, your creativity.
Mm.
Celebrate those qualities that make you unique, but also be mindful of the potential pitfalls that can come with those strengths.
Okay.
Remember that asking for help is not a weakness, and that collaboration can actually amplify your success. Cultivate self-awareness and strive for balance in all areas of your life.
That's fantastic advice for anyone, really,
Yeah.
regardless of their birth date. But especially for those born on the first, it's like a roadmap for navigating those powerful number one energies.
And remember, you don't have to do it alone. Surround yourself with people who support you, challenge you, and encourage you to be your best self.
Well said. I think we've given our listener plenty to ponder today. And who knows, maybe this deep dive has sparked a newfound appreciation for those born on the first.
Or maybe it's even inspired them to take a closer look at their own birth date and explore what insights numerology and astrology might hold.
The possibilities are endless. So until next time, keep those curious minds engaged and remember,
Knowledge is power, but self-awareness is the key that unlocks it.
we'll see you on the next deep dive.